So it happened. It happened. The Connecticut Sun is actually being relocated to Boston. It's being relocated to Boston. So for all the people thinking that, oh, the WNBA is going to be this happy fun time league for till the end of time with no fans and nobody that cares, they're sending teams to Philly and Boston. Philly and Boston. Boston. A minority owner of the Celtics, pending approval from the WNBA, is buying the Connecticut Sun for $325 million. This team valuation for arguably the least valuable team in the entire WNBA. Not only that, they have committed to putting in $100 million into a new training facility to be ready by 2027. There's going to be a team in Boston, the Connecticut Sun. And we are now left with, I'm going to say, two incompetent franchises. Like, absolutely. Oh. Wings kind of suck, but I'm not going to call them like, they're not Chicago Sky incompetent and they're not LA Sparks incompetent. They are like incompetent. Like, the Sky and the Sparks are not in the playoffs and neither of them have their draft picks. At least the Sparks probably will make the playoffs unless the Vox can stay above 500. I think the Sparks are probably going to make the playoffs, but the Sky have no chance. The Sky are somehow worse than the Wings, and the Wings are trying to lose. The Sky aren't trying to lose. They don't have their pick. The more games the Sky lose, the more likely it is. Like, if the Sky somehow have more than four losses more than the Wings, the Sky have the best chance to give the Lynx the number one overall pick. To give the Lynx the number one overall pick. You don't even get a late second round pick in this, or late first round pick in this, because of the Haley Van Lith trade. Because of the Haley Van Lith trade. They gave the Lynx their pick back for the HVL trade, which the Lynx used on Carly Samuelson, who ended up getting injured. But yeah, it's a big one. It's a big one here. And obviously, Underdog tweeted out here, the only way the franchise can survive is moving to Boston and having a real owner beside it, not some casino. Big number. WNBA rising like no other league. Yeah, like the Atlanta Dream were worth $8 million 4 years ago. I kind of wish. What would 1% of 8 million be? 8 million divided by 100. Is that 80,000? Is that 80,000? Man, I could have bought 1% of the Dream. I was trying to think. I was like, in 2022 when the Dream had sold, because I was buying a house. What did I have that much money in my account after that? Yeah, I could have invested 1% in the fucking Dream. The Dream are worth more than the Connecticut Sun. Had I invested that 1% in the Dream, it would have cost me 80 grand. I could have gotten 3-4 million. I could have gotten 2-3 million for it. Had I just in hindsight invested in the Atlanta Dream. If only I invested some money in the Atlanta Dream. Man, that would have been a story. They would have let me. It would have been, oh, there's this 2K YouTuber that's investing in the Atlanta Dream. It would have been this big story. They would have let me invest in it. I'm kicking myself. I'm absolutely kicking myself. So now, unfortunately, I couldn't make my millions. Could not make my millions from that investment. So I got to make my thousands in the talking about this league. But in reality, it's good that the league's moving to Boston. One thing is going to be, one thing that people just haven't realized is, like, won't somebody think of the children? Like, before the league confirms this, won't somebody please think of the children? Like, there are children that are used to seeing Alyssa Thomas, Dewana Bonner, Jonquel Jones, Marina Mabry show up to their birthday parties. And now, what sports star is going to show up to their birthday parties? Is there going to be some sort of a deal that these players are going to show up to their birthday parties free of charge for playing in Boston? Or is it going to be a thing where they're going to have to show up to kids in Boston's birthday parties? But please, won't somebody think of the children? But at the end of the day, no, like, jokes aside, it's good that it's good that they're in Boston. Boston's going to be a crazy fan base. It's going to be a good fan base. And obviously getting a $100 million new practice facility to relocate from Connecticut. Like, I don't think Boston's not that far from Connecticut as far as I'm aware. Like I flew in when I was like, I know Providence is near enough to Boston, and I flew in when I went to Hartford. I went to go see one of my friends was playing in Hartford, so I went to see one of their games 6 years ago now. Flew into Providence and I just drove. One of the lads drove down. But I do think the practice facility is huge. There's a report. The report continues to say the WNBA league governors could force them to sell to a Connecticut buyer as it may have an interest in Boston being expansion city in 2033. It's an important paragraph before people get way too hyped. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Like in 2033, the media rights deal is going to be almost done, and the owners aren't going to want expansion. Like, if all goes well, like the owners get, let's say with the way the teams are, the owners get 10 million each for expansion, but they lose what, 2-3 million a year. They lose like their share of every TV media rights deal gets more diluted. So no, the owners are not going to look to expand too fast, because as much as the expansion fees are, whatever the expansion fees are, we've seen it in the NBA. The NBA do not want any expansion because it's going to dilute their media deal. Like short term, it makes sense. They get a whole bunch of money, but long term, it makes no sense for these owners to expand. It makes sense quick expansion makes sense now because the owners are trying to recoup their initial investments. But long term, if the league continues to be profitable, expansion does not benefit the owners. So I don't think they're going to want to continue to do that. They're not going to force them to get a Connecticut-based owner, because people are like, oh, the league could look to Boston for expansion. But if you're looking at the NBA, the main city for expansion is Seattle. Like all it takes is, you move them to Boston now. They go play in Boston. They get the $100 million facility. And then in 2033, the Connecticut fans, there's this whole run about, let's get Connecticut a proper team. And then the expansion goes to Connecticut, and it's the same difference. So no, the money's there. Like, they're not going to disapprove it because of something a decade down the line that may happen. And if they do, like, I don't know. But anyway, yeah, that is the video. I highly, highly likely they move to Boston, like in the 90% chance. But knowing me, when I predict things, I'm wrong 75% of the time. I thought yesterday was a trap game. I have predicted, outside of the Sky game, I have predicted every Fever game wrong since the All-Star break. I've predicted them all wrong. I've predicted, I think the Fever played, they're 14 or 16 and 12. So the Fever played 28 games. The Fever have played 28 games on the season. I think I've predicted 5 right. I think I'm like 5 and 23. So with how bad my predictions are, you can probably just assume they're going to be playing in Connecticut for the foreseeable.